Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Raceface.Pro and welcome to the beautiful circuit of Hungaroring for the final round of the M2 vs Supercars. This is going to be a wild one. This is where the championships are on the line, and we're about to see some tight racing right through the field. Qualifying is underway, and we will be jumping down Leighton Ferree, leading out the pack. And good to see old Leighton Ferree coming back into it. So we're just trying to get our timing to work out nicely. Play nice now. Don't sit with odd things sitting on the screen. This is currently Johan Krobler that's out to make his run. So Leighton Ferree leading out the pack will be going and trying to dominate the win. Julian Familiaris out in second place at current in the V8. Fast lap time being a 150.05 for Leighton Ferree, and Julian Familiaris will be giving a good go at it. Johan Krobler will be battling out, but unfortunately Luke Lucchese is going to be there in for the fight. Jacques Ever will be rounding out the pack with our Gen 3 Supercars. Oh, apologies, actually there's two more. There is Sergei Sarkov and Werner Skuman. They have not put a time on the board. But leading out our BMW M2s is Willem Buerta in the Enviro car. He's been on an absolute charge of late and looking to go and be is absolutely so amazing. And we are ready for some great action from him. Willem Pinot running in second place at current with Stephen Cakebread running out our BMWs at the moment. Bert Hildenays putting in a time, jumps his way up through the order and will be going and fighting his way through. So let's see how our racing pack are going to deal with the drivers and who is going to lead the charge come the end of the race. Considering the championships are very close, we'll go and touch on to that a little bit later. But Leighton Ferree, let's talk about Leighton Ferree coming in and see where the drivers are going to contend with him. He is not into the championship at all, but can become a very crucial player. So far, Julian Familiaris leads the championship and needs to score as many points as possible to break away from Luke Lucchese, and with the likes of Werner Skuman, who still needs to put a time on the board, will be able to take that third place spot. They will be sharing the crown, however, for our beautiful Gen 3 Supercars with the one and only Ryan Ottens. Yes, Ryan Ottens is the inaugural champion of the Gen 3 Supercars that's been voted by the entire Raceface community. So whoever now takes the win will be sharing that crown with him. So Leighton Ferree out in first place and going and putting in some good times there. 150.053. Julian Familiaris trying everything he can, and we'll have to see whether he can try and move it a little bit further. We do have Willem Buerta a little bit further down in the Enviro car. 7th place overall, but first in class. He has so far done a 158.49, while Bert Hildenays with a 158. Oh, I'll speak about that and immediately see a jump up through the order. Jacques Ever puts the time on the board, moves himself up into 6th, and Gerald Ferree goes and puts himself in first of the BMW. So Gerald Ferree looking to really put it up in the order and show that he can stand for the overall run. So great to see so many drivers out here tonight, ready to have some fun, ready to put in all the effort, but only one can take the win here. Who is it gonna be? That is the question that is on everyone's lips tonight, because, well, being the final race and being the inaugural is everything. And we're getting confirmation that from the next season, we are moving away from the Gen 2s and we are moving away from the Gen 3 Supercars and the BMW M2s at the moment. So, a couple of drivers have got to really think about what they need to do here to really step up their game, become those champions. Otherwise, you're going to be way outmatched, way outpaced, and no way of moving forward at the end of it. So, there's a couple of caveats that the drivers are going to have to deal with and contend with around the circuit. Hungaroring, a very difficult circuit to deal with, and we're looking forward to seeing how many people can put the hammer down. Time's starting to run out, though, for many of our drivers to go and battle their way through with Leighton Free leading out the Gen 3 Supercars and Gerald Free going and leading out our BMWs at current. They're looking to fight it out. So, ultimately, going to be a good run for them. As time does start to tick over, I'll see our little overlay has walked off yet again. But unfortunate, it's busy trying to get reset, redone, and back out there. Taking a look to the virtual grandstands. Good to have you guys out here. We have got Kwando, Ethan, Roltz, along with one of our drivers, Werner Skuman, who's going and saying he's ready to have some fun here tonight. Looking to put in some good times. But, as that being said, qualifying is done and dusted. And we are moving on to the race. So, with that being said, welcome once again to the Raceface.Pro M2 and Supercars for the final heat, the final race. This is it. Game over. If you don't score it right now, that is it. Done and dusted. Leighton Free will take up the charge with Luke Lucchesi in second. Julian Familiaris, leader of our championship, lying in third place. Johan Bego-Krobler will run in fourth. Sergei Sarkov and Jacques Ever will be going a little bit against one another. Werner Skuman, who wasn't able to put a time down, will start in seventh place. A little bit further down in eighth is Gerald Free, followed by Willem Buerta, Berg Hildenaes, Jaco van der Lith, Willem Pinot, Robbie Teens, and Stephen Cakebread, rounding out our grid. So as they start lining themselves up on the line, we're getting some shots from Tim, the cameraman, trying to get our overlay back up and going. Do apologize for that. Bit frustrating, I won't lie. But we will get it all sorted out as timers start to come through. Thank you. And let's try and get you not being in the way of everyone. As a quick flash of lights come from Julian Familiaris. Just trying to go and signal saying how's it to many of the drivers. Good to see that we're in for a bit of fun. Luke Lucchesi looking to really put in the absolute work here tonight to stay in for the fight. But Leighton Free, the newcomer to the field, will look to battle his way through. Luke Lucchesi in second, Julian Familiaris standing start, and it's going to be an absolute blazer for all the drivers to contend with. Julian waiting for Luke Lucchesi, everyone gridded and waiting. Now, previously in the last round, we did have Luke Lucchesi run into a starting problem, but Leighton Free got himself up in orbit. Lights will go on. Green flag, and we are racing. Leighton Free getting an early jump off the line, but it's Luke Lucchesi trying to blast away and hold that second place. Julian Familiaris immediately gets a jump on him. A good start for all the cars. Late onto the brakes as Luke Lucchesi manages to hold that second place. Julian down into third, with the likes of Johan Bego-Krobler up on the inside, trying to carry a lot of momentum. We did see one of the cars going out very, very wide, and that looks like it might have been Jacques Ever a little bit further back as they start making their way through. This is going to be ice-cold tires to contend with for all the drivers, so nice, gentle throttle needed to go through. Willem Buerta feeling the pressure, and now we have got Gerald Free all over the back of him, closely matched by Berg Hildenaes and Jaco van der Lith, trying to get a little bit more drive underneath him. Willem Pinot trying to get into the toe as they late under the brakes to get themselves sorted. So far, everyone not shifting positions just as yet. Hildenaes going all over the show, trying to figure out where can he get the drive in the BMW M2s and looking to take that second place. They do have 40 minutes to contend with one mandatory pit stop needed to make it work. And so far, Gen 3 Supercars have checked out of the fight, and now will start to open up that gap a little bit more here tonight, and it's going to be a wild run. So that being said, let's get ready for some absolute great action. And there we go, beautiful shot of who's wearing what in each class. Have to do that because, man, oh man, the racing is going to be extremely tight. Berg Hildenaes into the toe, trying to carry as much momentum onto the back of Gerald Free. This is our closest fight at the moment as they start to get a little bit more heat into the brakes, into the tires after that standing start. Julian Familiaris trying to get a little bit more of a climb back up through the order, losing it through the final, but needs to get the power down early as he watches Luke Lucchesi starting to power away, and Luke hoping to take away that championship. Sergei Sarkov, one of our international drivers, has got Werner Skuman onto the back of him, the Angry Panda, all the way from Pandacity, trying to make his way through, and really going late onto the anchors there. Sergei will need to try and push a bit harder up against Johan Bego Krobler just ahead. Bego Krobler has got multitude of experience in V8s, coming from the world of Assetto Corsa Competizione. Well, let's see how he's going to do now with the final round. Werner Skuman trying to have a good go towards the back of Jacques Sever at the moment, and not able to get the run through. But it's Bert Kildenace looking for the inside, trying to take it a little bit shallow this time around as he makes his way through. Gerald Ferry not giving an inch, running him out a little bit wide there as the grid starts to split up a little bit. Absolutely stellar run for our drivers as they milk their way through. Willem Buerta getting that fantastic start, now needs to try and open up that gap as far as possible as Gerald Ferry goes out wide, loses a bit of time, and Kildenace tried looking for the inside, couldn't quite get it all sorted out. Gerald Ferry just needing to carry a little bit more momentum through the corners, but slowly but surely, Jaco van der Lid starting to become a factor in that fight as well. So expect that Kildenace is going to be pulling on a bit of company as the BMWs are absolutely going and fighting their way around the circuit. It's been some beautiful starts and runs for the competition as they carry on this incredible pace. But a little bit further up, we have got Johan Bego Krobler all looking calm in front. But take a look what's behind. Sergei Sarkov on the attack, trying to get his nose in on underneath that apex and really get on the power as quick as they can. And sliding their way around. Luke Lucchesi starting to open up a gap a little bit to the likes of Julian Familiaris. So far, Luke Lucchesi putting in the best lap time for the Gen 3 Supercars with a 150 as a 150.5 on that last one. So he's really done a great job there to carry on that little bit of momentum. But Sergei Sarkov, Johan Bego Krobler are going to keep each other company for quite some time. And so far, just mimicking each other's lines. Willem Buerta leads out the back for our BMWs, putting in his best lap time of 158.8 and leaving likes of Gerald Ferry and Kildenace to contend with one another. Jaco van der Lid has now gotten a bit closer, 0.6 of a second, to deal with one another as they go and try and make their way through. And getting reports, though, a little bit of a wheel drop coming out from Werner Skuman. So he's going and putting a wheel off wrong every so often in this fight. Back down to our BMW's 5th place, Willem Pienaar getting some pressure from Robbie Teens, and Robbie Teens in the DHL colours is going to give the Castrol a bit of run for his money. Oh, we do have a car off. That is Stephen Catebread, who has gone and lost track of where he needs to be and is now pointing in the wrong direction, towing back to the pits, unfortunately. So Stephen Catebread going out of the running. A little bit further up, though, we've got Bert Kildenace all over the back of Gerald Ferry, and he is getting very, very feisty as we jump on board. Really jumping over those curbs, trying to battle it out as quick as possible. Gets into the toe, pulls himself along. Not able to get the drive just as yet, but is desperately trying to find any sort of momentum on the way through. Drivers trying to battle it out. The grandstand's going absolutely wild here, and we are in for an absolute treat. And so far, everyone just looking to try and get that power down. Luke Lucchesi, once again, best lap time of the race, still puts in the fight. Jacques Sever having a little bit of a tough time, as we do see that is, oh no, is that who I think it is, Sergei Sarkov, who unfortunately landed up going and smashing the car up against the wall. Sergei Sarkov is now down and out with a bit of damage to the car. Let's see if we can go back a little bit and see what happened. Oh, just had the rear stepped out into the wall. Slow motion shots just goes and shows the pain of that rear just coming out and taking a huge, huge impact. They do have spares back in the garage, though, that they can get on the car, but it's going to require a little bit of time to get there, and he's going to have to suffer through the pain of just trying to match it through as Willem Pienaar onto the back of Robbie Teens. Now, Robbie's managed to get that position, but how long can he hold it? That is the question. But further up through the order, Willem Buerta, who had a second gap to the likes of Gerald Ferry, suddenly getting swallowed up yet again, and he's got Kildenace on the back of him. So Willem Buerta has got to be very cautious here to contend with the battles. Quick touch on the brakes for our BMWs, as it's our closest race at the moment. Luke Lucchesi trying to catch up to Leighton Ferry out in first place. It is Chev 1, 2, 3 with the Fords trailing behind. And ultimately, it's going to be a huge run for all the competitors just to try and find out what's going to work. Getting very, very close. Some beautiful shots coming in from our cameras and just shows you how close to the limit these drivers are really pushing as hard as they can. Remember, they still got that mandatory pit stop to go and work out. Pushing a little bit too hard here may actually go and affect what your pit stop plan is. Oh, Hildenace did look for the inside. He second guessed it on the option though. Was sitting in the back of the mind and saying, maybe, just maybe. Couldn't quite get it. And now Jaco van der Lith is right back onto the tail as well. So don't count him out just as yet, as this 3-car train starting to develop into a 4-car train. Fourth, first, second, third, fourth. A little bit further back though, we got Robbie Teens and the likes of Willem Pienaar fighting it out between one another, and those two are slugging it out. See how it goes. Luke Leclerc chasing down this man here, Leighton Fourie, an international driver that has really gone and made the headlines all the way out from South Africa to Germany to the entirety of the world. Good to have him out here, good to have him around. Sergei Sarkov now into the pit lane, getting some work done on his car. So Leighton Fourie opens up nearly a second gap to the legend himself, Luke Leclerc, who has got a multitude of racing experience behind his name. From go-karts all the way through to tin tops, he has done an absolute run. And this time around, leading up the RDSA side, and he's hoping to make a huge impact, really throwing the car around, trying to catch up. Julian Familiaris, well versed in the world of V8, a national champion in the Mobile 1 V8. I mean, at one point it used to be called, it was the Westbank V8. It was Westbank, then went to Mobile, or Mobile. Now going and battling out. Actually does own a Mustang, a IRC Mustang. So going and having a huge bit of fun out there. Good to see him. So as these three run away, Johan Bego Krobler left in a bit of no man's land after having his team, the likes of Sergei Sarkov, going down the order. Now, talking about that, Sergei Sarkov down in 7th position in class. He's currently sitting in 11th. Will have to try and get past our BMWs, and that means he has to try and get past this little scrappy duo of Jaco van der Lith, Bert Vildenaes, Gerald Fourie, and Willem Buerta, who are all in tow. Jaco van der Lith trying to look for the inside line. He backed out of it though. The Enviro car leading up the pack, but there is a swap for position. It is the likes of Luke Leclerc getting the run on Leighton Fourie. And that was for a bit of a pass, and let's quickly go and try and take a look, as we just missed out on that pass, and we really want to see that was a swap out for the lead. So jumping back up, and it looks like Leighton Fourie locks up his anchors. Luke Leclerc said thank you very much for that one. Got the pass all hooked in. So Leighton Fourie down in second place after a spectacular start. We'll have to get past Luke Leclerc, who has been on the defensive note throughout the season. And let's see how it's going to work out for him. Late on the brakes, really trying to power the car through, giving it everything she's got as he feeds it all back on. Our BMWs 4 close to one another. Will look to battle it out, and doing a great job there. Luke Leclerc holding back Leighton Fourie just a little bit. This is going to feed him right into Julian Familiaris. He's going to make situations rather uncomfortable for Leighton Fourie. For Julian, this is perfect. He's got the two competitors that were starting to run away against him, now watching the mirrors and getting into a fight as well. That's going to allow him to get a little bit closer. Luke Leclerc really trying to feed the power on and doing a great job of just holding back Leighton Fourie, who's going for the inside, trying to get the drive over the curb, gets the power on. Oh, just has the rear slip out. Beautiful shot from Julian Familiaris. He's got the best seat in the house here. But Leighton Fourie up on the inside lifts Luke Leclerc off the apex on the power. Luke going in, power sliding out of the final bend, and now absolutely tearing it down into turn 1. Who is going to have the run here? Leighton Fourie currently leading out, but it's going to be Luke Leclerc. He's going to go late on the brakes. He hasn't got the inside line. Going to go for the switchback. Can he get on the power a little bit early? Leighton gets squirrely, and it's Luke back up on the inside. Leighton now trying to defend his inside line as they switch over to the left-hander. Leighton has got the run, and it's going to be a proper run as they battle their way through. I mean, this is going to be a proper go. Luke Leclerc giving him absolutely everything at this point, and Julian Familiaris having a good go to try and close up to the train on the way through. Absolutely monstrous on the way through. Leighton once again going out a little bit wide. Luke putting his nose in, trying to figure out where he can get that little bit more of a run up against him. as our Gen 3 Supercars are absolutely roaring at the moment against one another. And great to see how everyone is pushing that little bit more up against one another. Luke Lucchesi really trying everything he can. Leighton Free, a quick touch on the brakes just to bring it all. And looking at how Luke Lucchesi is trying to push that a little bit more. Julian Familiaris going and putting a wheel wrong. Late on the brakes, tries to go for the inside line, couldn't quite get it done. We'll have to follow suit on the way through, but Julian Familiaris has joined up the tow and will be powering through. Our BMW is starting to open up a bit of a gap to one another, but we do see Bert Gildenace, whoa, a little bit of a tank sapper as he tries to throw the car underneath Gerald Ferree. Couldn't quite get it. He's going to try look to go side by side, just not enough horsepower to get himself all lined up, and Jaco van der Lith will join in the fact as well. So we do have a battle for second, third, and fourth in our BMWs, but first, second, and third place of our Gen 3 Supercars are currently all over the back of one another. Some great close racing, no ABS, no traction control up towards the front, and our BMW M2s, which are easy to drive, hard to master sort of vehicles to deal with. Jaco van der Lith looking for the inside, backed out of it on Gildenace, but he's going to come back rocketing of notes. Got the slingshot now to just keep into the tow. Quick flash of the lights though, just to warn that he is going to come by. He's going to give it everything he's got, and Bert Gildenace going to say no thank you on that one. We do see it, however, in the background. That looked to be Werner Skuman, who was just in shot as well. So good to see that the drivers are going to be making their way through. But this does bring up a reasonable concern for our drivers. Oh, Luke Lucchesi loses the rear and into the wall. Luke Lucchesi is out of the race and will need to get that car repaired. A big loss of traction for him. And now having to get sorted out. Let's see if we can take a look. Putting the wheel wrong, too much on the power. Oh, monster impact into the steering column. And now he needs to just try and get that car limped back to the pits to get himself sorted. Thankfully, there is spares on hand. But that has now left Julian Familiaris up against Leighton Ferree. Two drivers that have a multitude of experience against one another and will be looking to take the fight towards the front. Johan Berger-Krobler will inherit that third place. And now it's going to be an absolute charge for him. Jacques Ever up into fourth place, as we do see Luke Lucchesi running out wide. That steering just not coming back and absolutely hurting at this point. So we have to really take our hats off to him. He is really feeling the pain, trying everything he can to come back and claw his way back into the action at this point. Into the pits, and Sergei Sarkov, who knows the pain all too well, will be rubbing his hands with glee at this point as he needs to try and bring it all back towards the front. So, running through our order, Leighton Ferree leads out the pack along with Julian Familiaris in second place. Johan Berger-Krobler holding third, along with Jacques Ever in fourth place. All the way from Rhino Utility himself. Werner Skuman will be in fifth. Luke Lucchesi will currently sit in sixth until Sergei Sarkov comes on by and will be more than happy to take that position. Sergei up in sixth place. Luke Lucchesi into seventh. Going a little bit further down, though, it is our BMW M2 battle as Willem Buerta leads out the pack 1.3 seconds ahead of Gerald Ferree. Bert Gildenace already onto the back of him, trying to gain up some time. And it is Jaco van der Lith going and closing up in fourth. Fifth place is Robbie Teens along with Willem Pienaar. And we've got one retirement being Stephen Catebridge after that loss of control earlier in the race has gone and thrown him down through the weeds. But this is going to be an interesting one. Luke Lucchesi back out of the pits. Will have to try and somehow carve his way through the BMWs and make up time. And he's got a new fresh set of boots on that car as well. So he's just trying to get the power on early, try and get some heat into the tires and not interfere too much with the BMW battle. But he has opened up the gap between Gerald Ferree and Willem Buerta. Willem's going to try and hold the outside line. Can Luke Lucchesi get the power on? He does. But that has forced Willem Buerta a little bit too wide. And Gerald Ferree back in for the fight. Will be giving it everything he's got. Over the curb they go. Into the quick left they go. And now it is just all about keeping that momentum. Down the straights, it's going to be a main thing for slipstreaming And Gerald Ferrari knows this all too well. Will try and keep as tight as he can up against the back of Willem Buerta. He's going to have to be so cautious, though, on the running through. Julian Familiaris now trying to get the power through, and will hopefully try and get himself all sorted out so we get some beautiful shot of the trees there, Tim. That's not quite what we want to see. We want to go and see how it all goes. And there is a mandatory pit stop that the drivers will have to do during the course of these 40 minutes. And so far, the only drivers that have done their pit stop technically is Sergei Sarkov and Luke Lucchese. The others have not. And that is where life is about to get very interesting, because who's going to pull the trigger first in both classes? When are they going to get into the pits? When are they going to get it done and carry on the momentum? Who's going to go that little bit longer? Who's going to go a bit shorter? How much have you fueled the cars? These are many questions that everyone is going to be sitting, wondering, scratching their heads. Loss of position is on the cards here if you get it all wrong. And are you going to take a new set of tires, or are you going to keep to that old set of tires as well? So, Julian Familiaris trying to get the power on underneath, likes of Ferrari, and Leighton not going and backing down from the fight. Both are still going to continue. Leighton Ferrari going and lighting up those rears a little bit. He is definitely has a problem of going and wiping out those rears a bit more. We do know into turn one, he's not too comfortable. And this is where Julian Familiaris is going to give it everything he's got, trying to utilize every bit of experience that he has underneath his belt, putting the power down nice and gently up into second gear, third gear, a little bit of a slide as he puts the power down, really utilizing all the horsepower underneath this beautiful carbon fiber monocoque, and really wants to try force Leighton Ferrari into a bit of a mistake at this point as they battle their way through. So far, Leighton Ferrari soaking up the pressure on the way through. Julian trying everything he can to keep in that tow, really battling it out. But what is happening, and he keeps trying to move away from the slipstream, away from Leighton Ferrari. Julian's actually trying to keep himself out of that dirty air just enough to get a bit of pressure on the nose to help get the car rotating a bit properly and also stay in for the attack. So he doesn't want to be completely behind him and lose that aero on the nose that will get him snaking left, right, and center. He wants to try and keep it as open as possible and keep the drive on all the way through. A big tank slapper as they come across, and a beautiful shot from our camera down on the ground. Gives you a sense of speed as they roar over. But it is Julian Familiaris looking a little bit more gentle, a little bit easier this time around. He's not trying to go on the attack too much. He's just going and forcing Leighton to put that power down a little bit more each and every time. And in the background, we did see Willem Buerta and Gerald Ferrari in the BMWs also trying to close up on one another. So we are in for some very exciting times here, but still with a pit stop now that we've gone past the halfway mark. Who is going to pit? Who's going to take that first shot into pit lane as we go to our BMWs? And this is Willem Buerta and Gerald Ferrari, who are absolutely going and giving it everything they got at one another. So far, Gerald Ferrari just not having the same drive as Willem Buerta. Willem's a little bit more calm around the corners, with Gerald Ferrari's having that understeer, throwing him to the edges of the circuit. He's having to pull it back and really just soaring away at the wheel to try and catch up to Willem Buerta, who seems a little bit more stable at current as they put the power down. And the Enviro car still leads out the pack. So far, no change in position other than going from second to first. He's happy. Whoa, puts a wheel wrong. Talk about commentator's curse. He's run out a little bit wide and will be racking up those X's. Now, that's something we do need to talk about. Off tracks do count, and if you build up enough, I think it's about 20 of them, that you land up with a drive-through penalty. So every time you put a wheel wrong, that's 1x. You slide the car, that's 2x. You touch each other, that's 4x. See how quickly that can start racking up. And a drive-through penalty is not what you want to have. Jaco van Lith is first in the pits for our BMWs, and will be trying to get himself sorted out. Willem Buerta trying to keep up just a little bit ahead of Gerald Ferrari, who is in the slipstream. Going to look for the inside line. Is Gerald going to have enough, though? does take a look. He's braking a bit later. He's down the gears into third, into second. He's outbraked himself. And now Willem Buerter says, thank you very much kindly, sir, as he retakes that first place. Just gave himself a little bit more room. And now Berk Hildenace will see this battle as Willem Buerter stuck on the outside. Not going to be ideal for him. Gerald Farid, door-to-door rubbing they go. And here comes Hildenace to join in the contact, as this has gone into an absolute wild style with our BMW lovers really enjoying it. Willem Buerter just managing to eke out ahead of Gerald Farid, but it is still nose to tail between them as he runs out a bit wide. That's going to compromise his drive into the right-hander. And now Gerald Farid is going to see that there is an option to go on the attack. Berk Hildenace, a little bit of a shallower line there, not carrying as much momentum. Jacques Ever now into the pits to get himself sorted out. Werner Skuman will move himself up into fourth place. Leighton Farid, Julian Familiaris, and Johan Krobler have not pitted as yet, so they are still waiting to get themselves sorted out. Sergei Sarkov and Luke Lucchesi, however, have done their pit stops and will be waiting for the opportunity to reclaim some positions after their earlier accidents. Willem Buerter now trying to get a little bit more of a drive. Jacques Ever down into 6th position. Sergei Sarkov will be gaining into 5th. Luke Lucchesi only just getting the pass done and dusted. We'll go and see right in his mirror. Jacques Ever coming out of pit lane. You can see really standing on the power in that car, just going and snaking on the way through. So far, none of the BMWs opting to go in the pit stop. Speaking of the devil of that, Berk Hildenace decides he's not going to lose too much time here. Going to dive into the pits and he's going to leave Willem Buerter and Gerald Farid for company to deal with one another. So this is going to be an interesting time for our drivers to figure out what do they need to do to claw their way to the top. Quickly taking a look at who's done the pit stops. Jumping on our screen, Jaco van der Lith of our BMWs. Willem Pienaar will have done a pit stop, and so is Berk Hildenace. But so far, it is going to be Robbie Teens, Gerald Farid, Willem Buerter that are needing to do a pit stop. Leighton Farid, Julian Familiaris, and Johan Bego Krobler will need to get their stops done and dusted. Werner Skuman, he has not done a pit stop, so he also needs to get in, as Leighton Farid, Julian Familiaris, and Krobler all bail into pit lane because, you know, make the commentator lie on that course. So good to see the guys are really working their way out, but starting to figure out that time is running out. Julian Familiaris, gets the power on ahead of Leighton Farid. Julian Familiaris got the power on early and gets ahead of Leighton Farid out of the pits. Wait, what? I mean, this is going to be interesting. Julian Familiaris somehow got past Leighton Farid in pit lane. How on earth did he do that? I'm trying to just go through and figure out how, when, what happened. Just trying to go back in the replays to see that, because did he not take tires? Was a short enough stop that gave him that pass? Would have to be. But in any case, I mean, that is what it is at this point, as Julian Familiaris now looks to open up the gap away from Leighton Farid and absolutely run for them. Jacques Ever, though, yellow flags for him. What on earth happened to Ever? So Jacques trying to get into turn 1. Is it over rotation of the... Yep, that's it. The rear stepping out. Counter steer. Mustang saying, gonna go for a bit of grazing. A little touch on the wall. Nothing too bad there, but definitely not ideal circumstances for those tires and will be hurting. So change up in position happened on who got out of pit lane first, and that is Julian Familiaris beating out Leighton Farid on the button. That is absolutely stunning. Werner Skuman will now try and make his way through as he does see a battle ahead of him, and will be trying to see how on earth can he get past, because he's got Berk Hildenace and Jaco van der Lith who are in for a fight with one another. Remember, they've done their pit stops. They are racing for overall position now, and it's everything or nothing. Willem Buerter into pits, Robbie Teens into pits, Gerald Farid into pits, as Werner Skuman bails into the pits to get himself sorted out, and will be heading back out onto track. Only person, well, actually no one needs to do any stops except for Gerald Farid out in first place, is the only car out of both classes that needs to do it. I mean, this has just been a wild moment for them. Hildenace up on the inside of Jaco van der Lith will carry the momentum. and Jaco down into 4th in class, as Kildenace will look to try and get back onto the back of Willem Buerta, who has been running away at the moment, was uncontested for a long time in this race before it all started closing back on him. Tyres started walking off a cliff, and he landed up with a bit more trouble underneath him. Kildenace now pulling Jaco van der Lith along. The monster machine will keep on to the back of the Silver Arrow just ahead of him, and Kildenace just doing everything he can to keep up the momentum. Back up towards the front though, Leighton Fourie driving in anger, that is for certain, wants to reclaim the position back from Julian Familiaris. He didn't feel that pit stop worked out in his favor, and I have to say, it definitely didn't work out in his favor. Looking at the pit stop times though, and there is where it all happened. Julian Familiaris, 9.9 seconds in the pits versus Leighton Fourie, 10.6 seconds. That little bit more fuel, that little bit more on the tire change was all that it was needed. I put it down to fuel. Leighton Fourie used too much fuel, and that caused him to lose out on time. Where the likes of Julian Familiaris, I've got a funny feeling, went and overfueled at the start of the race to ensure that all he needs to do, put in it just enough to get going and carry on. As we do have Willem Pienaar going and landing up with a bit of a problem. Yellow flags for him. Willem Pienaar going and allowing Werner Skuman to get on by. And, oh, never mind. Werner and him had a bit of contact, and Willem Pienaar into the wall with Werner Skuman now trying to get himself sorted out. And right across the nose of one of our V8s. So definitely not ideal circumstances there. And that car is looking absolutely second-hand at this point. Unfortunate, really unfortunate. With multi-class racing, it does happen. It was carrying a lot of momentum, and unfortunately, a little bit of understeer, just that little bit of a tap against the rear, goes and spins him out into the wall, bounces up against it, and will have to try and get himself sorted out. So a bit of repair work to be done there to get that car back out and going for the last of the laps. I mean, considering this is the final race of the season for the Gen 2 or the Gen 3 Supercars and the BMW M2s, they're going to be fighting it out for honors here. For Julian Familiaris, he's in the exact place he wants to be, with Luke Lucchesi far enough behind him. If Julian Familiaris gets first or second place, he takes the championship and will share the crown, the inaugural season, with Ryan Ottens. Ryan Ottens being the champion, as voted by our drivers, to go and say thank you to the man and give him his last championship that he will ever earn. Julian Familiaris wants to share that crown after spending so much time on the track with him, as Julian Familiaris trying to open up that gap to Leighton Fourie as it stands. Gerald Fourie into the pit lane, will need to now get himself sorted and see where it's all going to work out for him in the long run here. It's going to be a tough time and a tough order for him to get it sorted out, though, as they battle their way through. Willem Pienaar coming out of pits, which is fantastic to see, and well done to him. As he exits pit lane, we do see Gerald Fourie coming back off those jacks, and now we'll be keeping an eye, because here comes the problem. Johan Bego Krobler has got a huge amount of horsepower. He will clear the cars into turn one, but it's Willem Buerta to try and catch up to the likes of Gerald Fourie, as Gerald a little bit slow, and Willem Buerta getting right into the back of Johan Bego Krobler. So really trying to push as hard as he can there to ensure they can keep going. But the question is, how long can they keep this up for? How far can they keep the battle going? As Julian Familiaris and Leighton Fourie still battle it out. We're down to 9 minutes left of this race, and it's going to be a wild one right to the line. For Julian Familiaris, he's got the championship in hand at this point, but he wants to take the bragging rights for the final checkered flag. And what better way to do it than versing an old rival? Leighton Fourie coming at him, looks for the inside. He second-guessed the option. Julian trying everything he can to defend his line, will be battling it out. He has been a champion in the V8s here in South Africa, multiple time a national champion, now looking to be the first of the champions in the Gen 3 Supercars here in South Africa. And he is up against an old rival of Leighton Fourie, who's giving him the proper go, the proper run around as they chase their way through. Luke Lucchesi having a go at Sergei Sarkov as he tries to make up a few positions. For Luke Lucchesi, he needs to go and score everything possible against Johan Bego-Krobler and Werner Skuman at this point to try and reclaim and hold some positions. But Sergei Sarkov does not want to back down. He is going to try everything he can. He goes out a little bit wide though. Luke Lucchesi's got the undercut on him, gets the power on early, and now looks to try and clear out that gap. Willem Buerta is going and fighting his way through as we see Gerald Ferree a little bit ahead, trying to gain a bit of time here. So Gerald Ferree will see likes of Pinol ahead, and we've got Willem Buerta and Bert Kildenace having a good go at one another. Pinot will be seeing blue flags at this point from his own class as they hunt him down to try and gain some time. Julian Familiaris and Leighton Ferree both putting wheels off the circuit, now trying to just throw the cars around, time ticking by, getting more and more difficult to keep them on the track, and build up of those off tracks will start to be compromising. How close are they to getting a drive-through penalty? Because that will signal the end for Luke Lucchesi. He wants that to happen. He's willing it to happen, and will have to try and claw his way back as fast as possible to capitalize on the running. Willem Buerta trying to make up some time after seeing Luke Lucchesi come on by. Will look in his mirror, and he does see Bert Kildenace getting overtaken. And man, oh man, Sergei Sarkov is now slotted in between them. The BMWs just able to come in with the cornering a little bit better, as it's just a bit easy. Those assists starting to help him out versus the Gen 3 Supercars that have got none of it. They rely on pure brute force horsepower and will have to just try and figure out how they can maneuver themselves around. Kildenace going and giving everything. He's got better exit than the likes of Willem Buerta as they battle their way through. Back up towards our sharp end of the field, it's Julian Familiaris and Leighton Ferree, still nose to tail. The DeVault of Julian Familiaris will be fighting it out with the likes of the Red Bull colored Leighton Ferree as they slide their way through, absolutely giving it all and throwing caution to the wind. These two have decided it is war till the end as Leighton Ferree looks for the outside. He went out a little bit wide, trying to go for the undercut on Julian Familiaris, who holds the apex, but for how long can he do it? Back onto the power, sliding the car around, gets onto the dirt. He has got some dirt on those tires. It's not going to be ideal for him as Leighton Ferree really goes and puts the power back into it. Julian trying everything he can. Leighton Ferree with a big dive up on the inside, gets it done and dusted. Julian loses out the position, now needs to try and come off the throttle and bring it back. Leighton Ferree with a monster send, gets it hooked in, gets it going, and now it is all or nothing for Julian Familiaris. Leighton Ferree, middle of the circuit, keeps a very good karting line there, very defensive to try and hold back Julian Familiaris and ensuring that he doesn't let it go anytime soon. 5 minutes left of this race, and first place in the Gen 3 Supercars is all or nothing. Julian Familiaris looked for the inside, putting the power down a little bit early there. Couldn't quite get the car to just grip up underneath him. And Leighton Ferree now starts to open up that gap a little bit more. Big sideways moment for Julian Familiaris. Something we've seen a little bit earlier with the likes of Sergei Sarkov, who got it into the wall. Now trying to battle their way through, looking to settle down, try and get those tires into a rhythm, try and get them back to normal. Leighton Ferree leads out the pack with Julian Familiaris and Johan Bego-Krobler, Luke Lucchesi, Sergei Sarkov, Werner Skuman, and Jacques Evers round out our Gen 3 Supercars. Down to our BMW M2s, it is Gerald Ferree, Willem Buerta, Bert Kildenace, Jakob van Lith, Robbie Teens, Willem Pinot going and rounding out the pack there, as they absolutely give it horns. Julian starting to lose that bit of momentum. Leighton Ferree now going and smiling ear to ear on this. He's going to try and just get himself a little bit more comfortable. Hope to get it going. But we are getting word that Jacques Evers going back towards pit lane. What on earth happened to Jacques Evers? Let's quickly go back and see where it all went wrong. Ouch. Our drivers really trying to pick up the pace. And we did see that little bit of damage from Jacques Sever, who will now try and figure out where the bit of momentum comes from. How can he keep the momentum going? As we do see a bit of side-by-side moment with Julian Familiaris back in towards the fight. Leighton Ferree trying everything he can to stay in for the fight here. And Leighton, who has been missing all championship long, he's just in for the huge amount of fun that comes with it against some good old friends. And Julian Familiaris, if he holds second, he takes the championship. But you want him to get that final spot with 2 minutes left on the board for the drivers. Our Gen 3 Supercars in for a fight. Gerald Ferree has opened a 2-second gap to Willem Buerta. Bert Kildenace being the closest, nearly by 1 second to Willem Buerta. That's our closest fight between them. Unfortunate. I think that's going to be pretty much that for them. Leighton Ferree trying everything he can, battling it out, and Julian Familiaris really standing on the power to get himself into the mix. He wants to go for the dive. Leighton Ferree looking rather comfortable at the moment, is not backing down. You can see a little bit of a tank slapper as he gets onto the power, trying to feed it in a little bit more and just get the car all squared up. Julian Familiaris doing everything he can to try and bring it back. It is going to be a chase down of note, sliding the rear out, trying to get it back onto the power yet again. And it looks like Leighton Ferree not hanging around, instantly flat out on the power to just try and keep it going. We got Werner Skuman, who's gone off circuit. We're getting yellow flags for him, so he's unfortunately out of a major running here and will be really trying to keep it going. Willem Buerta drops down and Bert Kildenace takes the second place. And Willem Buerta actually going very far down. May have been contact yet again for him, but we are keeping an eye. Leighton Ferree and Julian Familiaris will have one more lap to go at this point as they come across the line. It is all or nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready to stand on your feet here, because it is time for the all or nothing send for Julian Familiaris if he wants to get the win over Leighton Ferree. Julian has been a dominating effort throughout the season, and this is his opportunity to really go and to bring home the gold. But Leighton Ferree, coming back to the South African soil, wants to go and show that he has not lost his touch, that he's in for the fight. He is going to battle it out. In the toe, Julian Familiaris going to try everything he can. In through the quick left-hand. He's going to have to get on the power very early here. Try not light the rear up too much. Late on the anchors, trying to throw the car in, trying to put his nose in. He wants to see if he can cause Leighton just to lift that little bit more, straighten that steering, anything at this point to try and get that position back. But Leighton Ferree running a little bit faultlessly at the moment as he tries once again. Julian running out of time, needs to make it work. He needs to make the impact here and now with only 2 corners to go. Leighton Ferree will be smiling all the way to the bank to take the checkered flag at this rate. Onto the power he goes, doing everything he can to just keep it in order. Leighton Ferree playing follow leader here, but there is a BMW that may land up being a little bit of a problem as our leaders start to carve their way around, getting onto the power. This is it. 1 corner to go. Julian Familiaris going for the inside line, tries to go late on the brakes, couldn't get it sorted out into pit lane. And Leighton Ferree gets the slide, comes across the line. Leighton Ferree takes the checkered flag, but it is Julian Familiaris who takes the championship, and he got a drive-through penalty in the process. Julian Familiaris received a drive-through penalty, but crosses the line in second place. Johan Bego Krobler will take third place in the Gen 3 Supercars, with Luke Lekezzi in fourth. Sergei Sarkov will take fifth. Werner Skuman and Jacques Sever will take seventh. Gerald Ferree looking to try and make his way through and has Werner Skuman onto the back of him. He has really fought it out throughout the start of the race. Started in first, got past, had to fight, and now he will be coming across the line, smiling ear to ear as he circles round here at the beautiful Hungaroring. Gerald Ferree will take the win for the BMW M2s and will be smiling his way to it all. Second place will be Bert Gildenays, followed by Jaco van der Lith. Robbie Teens will finish up in 4th place with Willem Buerta in 6th. Oh man, I mean, Willem Buerta has, he will finish up in 5th, but Willem Buerta has really did everything he could. Unfortunately, all going wrong towards the end, threw him down the order, and now finishing up 3 places down from where he started. Willem Pienaar will take the last rounding spot in 6th, and our only retirement of the entire race, Stephen Catebread, after catching a slide. Unfortunately, took him out of the running order. But well done to all our drivers. What a phenomenal effort. What a bit of fun. And what a way to end the season. The one, the only season that has really come and gone. People were a bit concerned of putting these two. Our David vs. Goliath class done and dusted here at Raceface.Pro. And we say farewell to this beautiful combo, and we'll see you in due course. That is for certain. So well done to our drivers. That being said though, let's go back and take a look at some of the starts for our drivers as they booted it off the line. Julian Familiaris geared himself up in 3rd place, tried to get the pull away of note, but it was a clean pull away for Leighton Fourie. And it looks like Johan Bego-Krobler had a clean go as well. So while we're trying to get our drivers in to come and have a chat with us to give their last thoughts on what a spectacular event this was, and just to reflect on the championship, also looking forward to having a chat to Julian Familiaris, our champion for the series, and got to say, absolutely great stuff considering it's the final round of this beautiful championship of the Gen 3 Supercars versus BMW M2s. First up to bring in the commentary box is our first driver in the BMWs, Gerald Fourie. Gerald Fourie, welcome to the commentary box. Absolutely wonderful to have you. And what a race, from fighting it out in 2nd place after you qualified first to just getting it down to the end. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I sort of felt that I had a bit more pace than Willem. Even in qualifying, I messed up on my first fast lap, so I only had, I think, one lap in qualifying, so I definitely felt that there was about 3 or 4 tenths. Even following him, there was definitely about 3-4 tenths, so I thought about doing the undercut, pitting first, and that I thought, the tyres, I don't think are making such a big difference. They seem to be holding on quite well, so I don't think I'm going to gain any time by pitting early and putting on new tyres. And sort of thought that putting in less fuel might do it. And I think at the end, putting in a good lap while he pitted and then putting in probably 2 or 3 litres less fuel is what got me the jump over him. And then, yeah, just held on until the end.
It was definitely a tough one out there in Hungaroring, a very warm circuit this time round. How was it going and racing side by side and suddenly having the monsters of the Gen 3 Supercars coming in? We saw them actually causing a little bit of a split between yourself and Willem Buerta at one point, and having the likes of Bert Gildenays coming back at you attacking.
Yeah, they're not so fast through the corners. So you know, if they're in a corner with you or they come up behind you under braking, they're actually not that great. Even corner exit, they're not great. They obviously lack a lot of traction. But it's down the straight. If a car's 2-3 seconds behind you down a straight, you got to watch your mirrors, for them lunging you into the braking zone. But it's probably not as difficult racing against the V8s in a multi-class as it would be in a racing GT3s against GTPs, for example.
So just keeping your head on the shoulders. I mean, it's been a season of note. And if you could take away any particular moment this season, what would be your go-to that you'd say, that was my best moment of the season?
Well, this is actually the first race that I've done the whole season.
Fair enough.
So I enjoy these cars. I mean, I obviously watched Leighton race these cars, for a whole year when he raced M2 Cup and won the championship in Europe. And the livery that I'm actually racing was the livery that he did his guest start in at Hockenheim at the end of 2022 when he got his maiden podium. So it's a class that I've fondly watched during during the whole of 2023. And it's cars that with a great setup, with a good setup like I had on the car tonight, I feel is actually quite a lot of fun driving.
Well, absolutely grand to have you. Well, before we let you go, anything you would like to say to all the incredible competitors, to all the teams, the background admin that have been working here at Raceface, the partners, and most importantly, I think you agree with me on this one, the absolute amazing petrol heads here at Raceface.Pro.
Yeah, look, first of all, without all the admin guys, this series, not only this, but all the other series wouldn't be possible. And there's quite a lot of effort that goes in behind the scenes, so we're very grateful to those. The guys that I race with, most of them are, proper stellar racing guys, and not only on track, but off track as well, really good guys. So it's nice socially conversing with them as well. And yeah, we look forward to another season, whatever it may hold, whatever we're going to race. But let's try and see if we can get a bit more guys on the track and consistently keep them throughout the season. But it's great to be involved in South African sim racing. So I think we all started in 2019, 2020, when we couldn't go to the racetrack, and it's just grown from strength to strength.
Once the bug bites, it bites pretty hard. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And also, just looking forward to seeing you back out on track and honestly go and enjoy the champagne. You have earned it here at the Hungaroring for the BMW M2 class.
Cool. Thanks, mate. Cheers, job.
Gerald Free going and having a bit of a chat to us. Absolutely fantastic. A little bit of history coming in as well with all the racing. That being said, we're going to bring in our next couple of drivers, starting off with our third place of our big V8s, our Gen 3 Supercars. Let's bring in a name that most people here in Raceface.Pro know, Johan Bego Hrobler. Bego, welcome to the commentary box. Not often that you and I get to chat like this, but what a drive of note. You had to really put in the hard work. Sergei Sarkov kept you rather busy and trying to find your way through the BMW M2s. How are you feeling after this?
Yeah, how's it, Stephen? Sweaty, I think is the correct answer there. Yeah, it was a fun race. Pity that Mr. Gerber didn't show up. I was looking forward to a last little fight with him in these cars, but yeah, actually, I knew the front three were just going to drive away, and then just trying to keep Sergei behind me, as you said, and then unfortunate what happened to Luke, but I knew with the quick repair and pit stop he'd probably catch me towards the end, so I just tried to not spin it and hopefully stay ahead come the last few laps, and managed to just do so. So yeah, good.
Well, it was an absolute good run for you. Coming into the round, though, you were lying fifth in the championship. You had Paul Gerber to go and beat Werner Skuman, who wasn't too far. He was sitting on 184 points. Paul Gerber on 182, you on 180. You're securing victory here, in third place. Definitely has moved you up through the order. How are you feeling in the long run, considering this has been quite an emotional class towards the end of the season, and to be standing there fighting it out with drivers that you've actually been reversing for quite some time?
Yeah, it was good fun. I think, as you say, obviously had our big moment during the season that I think hit us all pretty hard. So I think for that reason alone, the season will probably never be forgotten. But yeah, we'll see where we end up when the final scores are in. I'm not too sure. I haven't actually checked the championship standings in a while. But yeah, just really a pity that the numbers dropped off so much during the season. I think the guys that didn't race missed quite a few really fun combos. Last week was quite fun. This week again, the squad track combo was quite fun, challenging, but very rewarding when you get a lap right. But yeah, we'll see where we go from here for next season. We'll see what the admins pick for us as the supplementary series to the GT3s, and yeah, hopefully we can fight for top fives again next season.
Absolutely, and we got to see you in multiple different liveries. One of them was the Los Pontos Hermanos livery a bit earlier in the season at Daytona. But before I let you go and enjoy the celebrations, scoring that third place, maximizing the points, and beating out Paul Gerber, that's for certain. might have actually beaten out Werner Skuman as well. So you might have hooked a third in the points, just by the by. Anything you would like to say to all the admins working in the background, to all the partners here at Raceface? But I'm sure you saw it out there on the grandstand. All those amazing petrol heads standing out on the grandstands.
Yeah, big thanks to Doe and the guys on the iRacing side that give us, like I said last time as well, that give us not one but two great leagues to race in. So big shout out to them. Really appreciate it. And to everybody else behind the scenes that maybe we're not aware of, and to you, Stephen, as well, for giving us the top-notch stream every week. Thank you so much. And to everybody that tunes in and watches the streams and supports in that way, thank you so much for you guys as well. We really appreciate it, and you in your own way help us grow this sport and the community. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much, Beggar Robler, going and finishing up in that third place. Well, let's bring in our first place for the race. Before we move on to the champion, let's bring in Leighton Free. Leighton, welcome to the commentary box. What a wonderful time to have you. But I'm sure going and reigniting your past rivalry against Julian Familiaris was quite a thing to deal with.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Yeah, I mean, it's me and Julian have a lot of respect between each other. So, once I knew it was coming down to the last 15 minutes with him, I knew that it was going to be clean racing and a lot of fun racing. But man, he pushed us hard. I mean, we were both saying now how crazy it was, how hard we were pushing the cars to what we would usually drive it. And yeah, it was just insane. Like I'm sweating like a pig, to be honest with you. But it was a good race, and I'm glad I could get him at the end. It was very good.
Oh, it's absolutely wonderful. I mean, from start to finish, everyone has been going on about your amazing dart off the line. Give us, what on earth did you do differently to everyone else? Because your start was just pitch perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite tricky starting these cars because you have to load the handbrake and then find the clutch bite point while trying to load it with the correct amount of throttle. To be honest with you, I kind of messed it up in the beginning of my sequence, and then I had no time to sort of just accurately do it. So I sort of just guessed it and ballparked it, and I got a little bit lucky, I won't lie. But yeah, I just tried to take every experience that I have from Polo Cup back in the day, doing standing starts then and all that sort of stuff, to just sort of let it happen naturally. But yeah, it was a good start. I was quite happy with it. And yeah, I was very, very happy with it.
And let's talk about jumping in, getting to see all the petrol heads out there. You had a fight of note, but how was it just giving it a go against drivers? It's been a while since you've gone door to door with, and trying to move up through the order, and also getting to see the likes of Gerald Ferree leading out the pack in the BMW M2s. I'm sure that was quite a moment for you as well, to say, hey, that's keep going.
Yeah, I was in a Discord with one of my mates, and he was watching the YouTube stream, and he was basically telling me where my dad was throughout the race, just to keep me updated. But yeah, it's cool. It's good to be back. I mean, I get limited time in the sim, obviously traveling so much. So when I'm home and I get the opportunity to do it, it's really cool. And racing against these guys is always a privilege. And I'm really just grateful that we can have a race like this and have fun like we did tonight.
Well, Leighton, before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations, the champagnes, and just go and nuts with everyone out there in the virtual grandstands, anything you would like to say to all the partners here at Raceface, to the admins, to the drivers, the teams, and most importantly, I think you'll agree with me, all the amazing petrol heads lining the virtual grandstands as you were going around, standing on their feet, cheering on, not only going and cheering you here, going and racing in the Gen 3 Supercars, but throughout your career in motorsport.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just like to thank everybody. I mean, the support is crazy amount, and I'm very grateful for it. I think no words can describe how thankful I am for it. And yeah, I mean, just everybody, all the organizers for tonight, the admins, the race directors, everything like that. Just thank you for organizing something like this. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, just glad to see all the fans out there, virtually and in real life. It's amazing to see. So thank you so much.
Absolutely wonderful. Leighton, before I let you go, anything you wanted to say? When is your next race? I mean, we've got everyone waiting here. When are you going to be next in the car?
Yeah, we have we have a race next weekend. I can't say much about it. I've got to keep it hush hush for now. But our official season kicks off in a month in GT Masters, so they'll be at Lauserstring. So it'll be on I think May 23rd or something like that. So yeah, really excited for it. Got a lot of test days and a lot of prep to do until then. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely wonderful. So keep an eye out on the socials for Leighton Free. Give him some support out there and cheer him on. Leighton, thank you very much for holding the South African flag so high. We look forward to seeing you back in the sim in due course.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. Leighton Free, absolute champion. But talking about champions, let's go to one that has been a V8 champion more than once, who's driven a Chevy to the win, and tonight takes the championship, going and sharing the crown with Ryan Ottens. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together. Julian Familiaris, our Gen 3 Supercar champion. Julian, how are you feeling?
A little bit tired after that one, Stephen, but very amped. That was a good race. Thanks to Leighton making me graft on a Tuesday night, like I told him. But yeah, that was fantastic. I mean, I didn't expect him to join the race, and himself and Luke and myself, we were sending it, and yeah, it was good fun.
Well, you talk about sending it. Let's talk about the drive-through right at the end when you started to go a little bit of Hail Mary, trying to get past. It seemed a bit frantic trying to get past Leighton Free. Where was that moment that you said, I'm going to go for it, and unfortunately got that beautiful voice of Jeff saying, you got to drive through?
Yeah, look, Leighton did a good overtake on me. I think 5 laps to the end. So, at that point, both of our tires were just so cooked. So I tried to stay with him, obviously, pushing 110%. And coming to that last sector, I thought that the off tracks were on 19. I mean, I would have never gone for that off track, knowing that it was going to give me a black flag. But anyway, my mistake, and I touched the off track, and I saw the black flag. So, last minute decision. I thought, let me just do the drive through now. I didn't know if it was going to count or not, but I went for that. It did bring an exciting, race. It could have been much better crossing the line together, but I went for the instinctive route, and unfortunately, it still gave me a 30-second penalty, I think, 35-second penalty, but we still managed to finish second. So that was good fun.
Well, taking home another V8 championship, I'm sure that's a big smile, another little bit of flex in your racing career. Talking about it throughout the season, you've had some brilliant moments with a variety of drivers. If you had to take a picture and hang it on the wall, what would be the moment for you throughout this championship?
Look, it's been a tough championship. We don't put tons of effort into it. Myself and Luke have been going at each other the whole season. It was a nice curveball to have Leighton in the final round today. Luke's pace is also fantastic as always. So if he didn't have his small moment, I think we would have had a nice three-way tussle. But I'd say probably today up until Luke spinning out. But yeah, I'd say today's race was definitely the most exciting. Really pushed limits in the car. So yeah, thanks to Luke and to Leighton, I really enjoyed that.
Well, absolutely wonderful. Before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations, to go wild, to go nuts, and that you've taken the championship, anything you want to say to all the teams, the drivers, to all the admin crew here at Raceface, to all the partners here at Raceface, and most importantly, and I think you agree with me on this one, those absolute petrol heads lining the virtual grandstands that have been here week in and week out cheering on the entire category.
For sure. Thank you to all the guys that come out every week, support the stream. Thank you to yourself and the whole crew behind the scenes. You guys put together a show every week, and I mean, it's a lot of effort. So thanks to you and Do. And, to all the participants sticking it through the entire season. We've had a bit of ups and downs in the participation, but I think, the regulars kept it together, and we finished off the season strong. So hats off to everybody, and looking forward to future championships for the guys.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, go and enjoy the celebration. You've earned it. Go wild. And you hold the crown. Sharing it with Ryan Ottens, But Julian Familiaris, you are the Gen 3 Supercar champion. Go absolutely wild, and that's something no one can take away from you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Much appreciated.
Absolutely wonderful to have a chat to Julian Familiaris, our champion. Going to be sharing that crown with Ryan Ottens after a hard-fought season of battling it out. Bert Kildenace will take the M2 championship. Well done to Bert Kildenace. Fortunately, we haven't got him to chat to, but he has taken the M2 championship. Going to be happy with that one. Stellar effort to keep the drive all the way through. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that has sadly brought us to the end of our show here for the Raceface.Pro iRacing M2 and Supercars Series. It's been a wild, wild run. And to answer the question, do we get a cooldown room POV? Working on it. Not going to have it this time, but working on it. So keep your eyes peeled to Raceface.Pro. There is going to be some very interesting little changes, tweaks, and moments to make life more of a fun time here at Raceface.Pro. But for all those joining us, thank you very much for joining us throughout the season, for joining us with the great racing. Next week, we're going to be having our final round of the Raceface.Pro GT3 Sprint Series. So go and tune in. That is for our iRacing. We're going to see who gets the championship there for our GT3s and see who is going to go door-to-door racing right the way through here at Hungaroring. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thank our partners, Scallywags Drifting Academy, Red Star Raceway, and Rhino Utility for being on board with us